Cam Rogers coming at you. Tom Downey alongside. Hit us up on Twitter. Let's go to the top 25 free agents available. But before we do, the guys who just missed the list here, Tom.
A couple notable players that I want to make note of. Two of these guys I don't think are actually going to play at all this year, so we'll bring up that listicle here in just a second. But a couple of the players that I want to make note, Coby Fleener is one of those guys. The Saints, I just don't think he's going to end up signing. I think the concussions are a big concern for Fleener, and frankly, he hasn't been the same guy in quite some time. Other guys I want to make note of, Luke Joeckel, Richie Incognito, who just has all kinds of off-the-field issues overall. Okay.
All right, so those are some guys for you guys to kind of monitor there as we go throughout the offseason here in the NFL with training camp not too far behind. Let's go to number 25 here. We've got Colin Kaepernick. Is he going to get signed? Of course, he's got the ongoing collusion case against the National Football League, alleging that all 32 owners are keeping him out.
We've got our predictions on there, and you and I both agree. I think I'll put my part here. He's not going to get signed. That shot is passed for him. But I'll tell you what, he is better than so many backup quarterbacks in the NFL. If this was only about football, Colin Kaepernick would have been signed a long time ago. And frankly, he still might be starting in the NFL. So it's not a football issue with Kaepernick. I hopefully we have put that to bed now. I mean, look at the guys that have Seattle on Seattle's depth chart. It's a mess. Carolina is about to start Garrett Gilbert as a backup quarterback.
Ugh.
He is better than a lot of quarterbacks out there. It's not a football issue. I promise you that.
All right, so folks, do you want Colin Kaepernick back in the National Football League? Here are your voting options. Yes and no. Simple as that. Type A into comments for yes. Type B for no. I will say this. I think the general NFL fanhood, if you will want Colin Kaepernick back in the league just from an entertainment standpoint. You're seeing a lot of bad quarterback play right now, Tom.
It's bad. And I know that Kaepernick is a divisive player, but talent-wise, you're telling me he's not a top 90, a top 65 quarterback in the NFL? He absolutely is. That's why I think maybe his collusion case has a little bit of merit to it.
All right, we'll see if he can actually win that case, by the way. And
tough to win.
He can't. Well, maybe he's going to have to go the old-fashioned way, try to get back into the NFL here. All right, so Kaepernick is at number 25. Let's go to number 24, the grizzled veteran himself, Antonio Gates. Tom, you and I both say he will return to the Chargers. If Hunter Henry did not get hurt, I would have said retire.
I think his career would have been over, and there was the report from LaDainian Tomlinson that Antonio is in the mindset of, it is either Chargers or bust for me. I'm either going to play for L.A. or I'm going to call it a career. So I think you'll see him go back to L.A. because we can bring up that Chargers depth chart as well here. It's a mess. I mean, you got Virgil Green who can block, and then a bunch of guys who I think fans outside of L.A. haven't heard of, and I hadn't heard of them before I looked it up either. These are nobodies. You need Antonio Gates. I know he's not the same guy he once was, and his numbers have dropped over the last 5 seasons, but you got to get him
desperate
on the roster.
times.
I mean, you need somebody that can actually catch. That is not the MO of Virgil Green or Sean Culkin or whomever.
Well, I think Antonio doesn't want to learn a new offense either, Tom. I think
at his age,
he just wants the seamless, transition there into next season with the Chargers and
there's
be
the
on
chemistry.
his merry way.
There's the chemistry.
chemistry
Factor too, because he knows Rivers. He knows the offense. It's a good fit there. So I would like to see Gates back in LA. I think it'd be a great fit there, and it makes too much sense for all the parties involved, given the injury to Hunter Henry.
All right, so Antonio Gates there at number 24. Checking in at number 23, another household name, Adrian Peterson.
That's the theme here of the bottom list.
Exactly. Formerly of the Cardinals. Could he go back to the Saints? We'll see. I have the Texans as my prediction.
I went with the Rams, and I almost put Rams/unsigned because I don't know if Peterson's going to get signed. I know that it's AD, and he's one of the greatest halfbacks in NFL history, but the last 2 years, he just hasn't been good at all. And I know that the Cardinals' offensive line wasn't that great last year, but Adrian Peterson, in part because of injuries, just hasn't fared very well. He was great in 2015, 2013, but with 5 years now, those might I don't think that's Peterson anymore. I think at his age, he's just lost a little bit too much. And here's the biggest thing for Peterson and why I'm often called a Peterson hater, Cam. You are looking at this point not for a number one, probably not even for a true number two. You're looking for a third back or a back to replace your backup who got hurt. Peterson doesn't offer anything on special teams or in the passing game. Why would you want that as a backup? Peterson is a starting halfback skill set in a player who just doesn't have it anymore. So I don't think he's a starting caliber back anymore. So if I'm Peterson, I have to wait for an injury because who's going to bring me on to be a backup? It's not a good fit anymore.
I think if a team signs him, it's more of an insurance policy, and that was kind of my logic with the Texans. Lamar Miller is seemingly on the downward trend with his career. I know they have Foreman as well.
That's the key. He's coming back off that injury. If he's not great in training camp, then maybe it can make some more sense because they need somebody else to help take some of that workload.
All right, so that's Adrian Peterson there at number 23. Number 22, Junior Gillette here, linebacker formerly of the Redskins. I just don't see a home for him, and you don't either.
I think he might just retire. Now, he's been kind of considering that there. There's been a report maybe he could go back to the Redskins, but I think that this kind of falls into almost a lesser example of the Dez Bryant type situation. Remember, he signed that big contract with the Saints, and that just completely fell apart because he did not get along with Sean Payton. Then he went to the Redskins, and he got suspended, and he's battled a bunch of injuries there, tore his Achilles twice with Washington. He was okay last year, but the reality is he's an aging veteran linebacker who had 3 sacks last year and has the reputation of having some off-the-field issues.
All right.
That's a whole lot of, I don't know if we want him.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. Meanwhile, with Mike Mitchell, it could be the same situation. He's at number 21, and it's just like, you look at the safety market, Tom, and you'll see a theme with my predictions for safeties. It's either unsigned, wait until an injury, or there's one guy who I actually think is a fit. And that's it.
I'll make note of this for Mike Mitchell as well, and really a lot of these guys at the bottom because I saw a comment on it. Well, it's not a great free agency crop at this point. A lot of the top guys are off, and I think with Mike Mitchell, I think NFL teams think he's too slow. Like, they don't think he can hold up speed-wise, and if you can't hold up in the speed at this point, you're just not going to make it in the NFL. So there are some potential fits. Maybe Minnesota as a backup, but I don't think he's going to be an option long-term.
All right, so he's there at number 21. Let's take a look at number 20, a guy with quite a good amount of baggage here, Adam Pac-Man Jones. What do we make of him? Any future here?
It's Bengals or nothing, and the Bengals drafted Darius Phillips to replace Adam Jones, so I think they're out of the running there.
I agree.
And oh, by the way, one note on Adam Jones, he got into a fight at an airport. He was not the aggressor, although he did win the fight, so good for Adam there on that one. The other guy was one who got arrested and charged, but again, it's another example of Adam Jones finding himself in trouble or at least involved with incidents NFL teams don't want. He's 35. I think it's up for Adam Jones.
Yep.
I really do.
All right, let's go to number 19. Back to the running back position. Orleans Darkwa, formerly of the Giants. He's an interesting case here, Tom. You have him going to the Buffalo Bills. I actually like him on the Denver Broncos. I have a lot of faith in Royce Freeman. I understand that he is going to be a top-line player for them. After that, Devontae Booker, D'Angelo Henderson, I know they're waiting for him a little bit, 6th-round pick from the 2017 draft, but I think Darkwa would be a nice piece to that puzzle
Especially if Henderson doesn't take the next step forward or their other rookie, David Williams, that doesn't become a guy. But Orleans Darkwa is one of the free agents that I'm very curious to see where he ends up. I do own him in a fantasy dynasty league, and he was pretty good for me last year.
Okay.
He did visit the Patriots, and I think a team like the Bills, if they're worried about their depth in light of the whole LaShawn McCoy situation, or if there are other injuries could be a fit there, I think with Darkwa, he actually put up good numbers last year. Like, it went under the radar because the Giants were awful and because they also used Wayne Gallman and he was a higher draft pick. But I think Darkwa has some ability. If he gets a chance coming off that injury that removed a plate from his leg, he showed he can be a decent halfback. So I think he'll get signed. I'm curious where and what kind of role he'll play for whatever team does end up signing him.
All right, he's at number 19. Let's go to number 18 on the list, T.J. Ward. Now, this is a guy with a lot of brand recognition. Pro Bowler before, has played well in the NFL.
Yeah, TBT to when Ian Rappaport said that Ward's market would be strong.
Yeah.
And he's still unsigned.
That ain't the case.
Here's the unfortunate reality with TJ Ward. I think he's kind of lost it. Like, you see some of these older safeties, Dante Whitner kind of fell in a similar category.
Example.
These box safeties, when they lose that half step, it really impacts them because they don't have enough speed to survive anyway. So maybe Ward can make it almost as a linebacker type if he wants to make a position change. I think he'll get signed by somebody, but he is not Pro Bowler TJ Ward anymore, folks. I went with the Carolina Panthers because I hate their safety depth chart.
I went with weight.
It's bad.
Because I just think it's going to be a theme with many of these safeties.
It's fair.
Injuries are going to happen. Then they look into perhaps bringing in
I'm
TJ.
not a big fan of that grouping.
I
know Carolina's scheme doesn't value safeties, but bring him in and maybe have him be a box linebacker to help while Thomas Davis is suspended. I just think it makes some sense.
All right, so TJ Ward still looking for a team. So is this guy, Julius Thomas, at number 17. Remember 2013 when this guy was catching touchdowns after touchdowns?
Peyton Manning boost.
Oh, yeah, that.
Excuse me. My bad.
You got something there?
Yeah, I got a little something in my throat there. Look, you can see the drop-off, and it's
God.
very obvious what happened. He didn't play with Peyton Manning anymore.
That Peyton Manning factor, apparently.
24 TDs in 2 years, and then he hasn't hit 10 since then.
And we know Adam Gase wasn't part of all
brilliant,
that
excuse me.
because he played with Miami last year, and Adam Gase didn't magically turn him into old Julius Thomas.
I mean, he was better in 2017. I think maybe that's what you could get overall. Maybe you can get something closer to 2015, Julius Thomas. But I think it's telling there's been almost no interest in him because he's not a great blocking tight end. And if you're going to be a backup, teams want you to be able to block because when you come on the field, Cam, in 2 tight end sets to run the football. So that's an issue with a guy like Julius Thomas. He can't block that well. Why would you want to bring him in? You went with the Cowboys. I went with Houston.
Houston's a good pick.
Because I thought Houston, I think they're just a mess at tight end. So I think that they can make some sense because they drafted some guys I don't think are going to be prepared yet. He can actually be a almost starting tight end for them.
I think Julius would be an interesting piece to Dallas. Jeff Swain, we'll see about him. Dalton Schultz, sure, somewhat middle of the
Blake
ground.
Jarwin is beloved by the Cowboys front office as well.
Rico Gathers, of course, is being hyped up like a second-round pick, but he wasn't. I think Julius Thomas would be an interesting kind of factor in the Dallas Cowboys tight end depth chart. So I got him there. We'll see what happens. Julius Thomas checks in at number 17 in our rankings. At number 16 now, Eric Decker. I thought he'd find a team by now, to be honest
I'm
with
a
you.
little surprised, but he wasn't very good with Tennessee. He used to be such a good red zone guy, and he wasn't at all in Tennessee. Now, he put up okay numbers. I think Decker kind of falls into that. I am an old veteran wide receiver. Let me just sign before camp. Why would I bother getting locked into something so early? I'll see what happens. Maybe someone gets hurt or someone gets suspended, which is why I put down the Patriots. Decker said he would like to play for them. Edelman is suspended for 4 games. I think it makes sense.
Sure, if they miss on Dez.
He can, okay, there you go. We'll get to Dez later on in the show. Don't worry. Bruce Harris is glaring at you, by the way. I just want to see 2015, 2013 Eric Decker, who was really good for me in fantasy football.
And he has faced his fair share of injuries the last couple of years as well. Had a shoulder issue a couple of years ago. So
if Jordan Matthews does not pan out, I could definitely see Eric Decker getting a call quickly from him because I don't love their receiver depth chart. It's just a lot of guys that can get the job done because they play with Tom Brady.
Right. And I think Decker would be a nice piece in that red zone, no doubt about it, for New England. Perhaps a guy that could take some attention away from Rob Gronkowski. I don't know if that's very possible, but still could happen at some point. All right, Decker's there at number 16. You're watching NFL Daily presented by Man Crates. Head to mancrates.com to get the awesome Grill Master Crate for the summer. July 4th just happened, but we're still rolling along with the hot weeks of the summer. There's no quicker way to separate the men from the boys, Tom, than to observe how they manage a steak on the grill. The Grill Master Crate is for the man who's a cool operator when the heat is high right now.
Hey, I just moved into my new house in Dallas here. I ordered my grill. It's coming in when we have the housewarming party. You guys can all come over, and you'll see how good my grill game in part is because of this crate.
Mancrates.com, the way to go. Open house at Tom Downey's, by the way, folks. Everybody roll up.
We haven't unpacked yet. It's a mess.
All right, Tom, let's go through some of the notable free agents here that we won't be discussing in the rankings. Fleener, Incognito, Alex Boone, LaMarr Houston, Luke Joeckel. Some big-time names.
Some notable offensive linemen, all of whom started at times last year. Incognito, though, is a crazy person. I don't think he's going to get signed ever again. I don't think any NFL team wants to touch that right now whatsoever.
All right. Let's summarize the list so far here in our rankings. Colin Kaepernick at 25, Antonio Gates at 24, AD there at 23, Junior Gillette, Mike Mitchell as well. Then you've got Adam Jones, Orleans Darkwa, TJ Ward, Julius Thomas, and Eric Decker. Let's go to 15.
I was going to make my Darkwood Duck fantasy team name joke, but I decided not to. And then I made it anyway, so I won.
Number 15, we've got Jari Evans. It looked like you were going to say something.
Yeah.
Guard here, former Pro Bowler himself, Used to be really an elite guard, to be honest with you.
I still think he can be a starting caliber guard in the NFL. I am intrigued that you picked Baltimore here.
Yeah.
Is that wishful thinking?
It is kind of wishful thinking. There's a little bit of bias here tossed in, but the Ravens could use the help on the interior.
I think with Evans, though, it's kind of at the point where he's old, he's 35. He's either going to go play for a really, really good football team and start, or he's going to say, you know what? Tap me out. I'm going to call it a career and hang it up, and maybe someone will pick up the phone in the middle of the season. Because I think at this point, and he even said this, he wants to go win another Super Bowl. That's what his concern is, and he wants to start in the process like all NFL players do.
All right, well, heck, Seattle should do their homework and realize that their offensive line is
for every offensive lineman.
Oh, my God. All right, let's go to 14 on the list. Tyvon Branch, safety. So here we are with the safeties again, and I'm just going to say wait.
Yeah, look, I think that you have kind of talked me into putting Branch higher as we've gone along and done this, because the ACL is a big concern for me, but I think that once he's healthy, he'll get signed, and I think that you could see Branch be an option for them. And I think Arizona, when we'll get to that depth chart here, they need somebody else at safety, because it's a mess right now. And the Cardinals haven't ruled this out yet, but he's coming off the torn ACL in November. That's going to take a little bit more rehab time, especially for an older safety like Branch. He's 31. But you got Budda Baker, you got Bethea, and then it's Rudy Ford, Jonathan Owens, and A.J. Howard. Do you really want Rudy Ford playing snaps for you if you're Arizona? No, you'd rather bring back Tyvon Branch. So I think in the end, I would not at all be surprised if he got re-signed and ends up being an option for Arizona long term.
All right,
or
so
at least for this year, I should say.
The waiting game here for the Cardinals safeties out there. So we got Tyvon Branch checking in at number 13. Number 13 here is Quentin Demps. And yet another safety here.
Wait for injury for you.
I'm going to say it every single time except for one.
It makes sense, but I really like Quentin Demps, and I think Houston is a perfect fit for him. Unfortunately, Andre Hall is battling cancer right now. They moved Jackson into the safety spot, which I don't love. They did draft Justin Reid, but I would bring in Quentin Demps. Houston has loved to use 4 safeties. You can do that if you bring in Demps, because you've got Matthew, who I love. You can put Kareem Jackson back at corner if you really want to. Justin Reid can be an option, and then Corey Moore, you bring in Quentin Demps in that rotation, and it's a good grouping. Now, Campbell can help you on special teams, which is an issue there, but I like what Demps brings. Yeah, he was not good for the Bears before he got hurt last year, but the talent, I think, is still there. He was really good in 2016. Maybe it was a bit of a flash in the pan, but at this point, I'll try it.
Why not?
And bring him in on a 1-year low guaranteed money deal. If you're a team like the Cowboys, for example, who need a safety, we'll get to them, don't worry. I think it makes a lot of sense.
All right, so there's Demps at number 13, checking in at number 12. A guy who has had some good years in the past and kind of dropped off recently. Jeremy Maclin, formerly of the Baltimore Ravens, struggled with injuries last year, was never on the same page with Flacco.
I thought he was going to be a little bit better in Baltimore, and I'm sure you did as well, Cam.
Yeah,
but Maclin I think it's a fair question, does he have it anymore? Because the past couple years, he has drastically declined in terms of his production, and he's no longer prime Philadelphia, prime Chiefs Maclin. The last 2 years, that's not getting the job done.
No.
And I know there have been injury issues. I think he can still play. There was interest earlier in the offseason. The Cowboys called him and then said, oh, JK, we're going to sign Allen Hurns because he's a better player. I think Maclin will get signed. I went with the Bills because, Cam, they suck at receiver. Like, there's no other way around it.
They're pukey bad.
This is a disaster.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's a worse receiving core in the NFL. In fact, I know there's not. Because you got Kelvin Benjamin, Zay Jones with that weird incident, cast-offs like Andre Holmes and Jeremy Curley and Rod Streeter. Robert Foster got work with the ones in training camp or in minicamp and OTAs, and he could barely play for Alabama. Now he's going to play for an NFL team. It's a mess. So if I'm the Bills, frankly, they're fit for every single receiver on this list, Cam.
All right. Dez Bryant included, of course. All right, so Jeremy Maclin is there at number 12 on the list. I have Jeremy Maclin actually going to the Arizona Cardinals.
I think
they
also
could use some help.
It also makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think there's a little bit of some slot overlap there between Maclin and between Fitzgerald and even Christian Kirk, but I think that's a fit as well for Arizona.
All right, we'll see what happens with Maclin. At number 11, we got DeMarco Murray, who is at the center of a lot of rumors out there. And Tom, you say wait, I say Buffalo, even if LaShawn McCoy does not get cut. But I think that's a possibility.
I think he's going to wait, and I think with McCoy, they're also going to wait. So I think in the end, it makes sense. And I think DeMarco Murray, he has said, and we mentioned this earlier in the program, that oh, I might sign before camp. I don't think that's going to happen for him because I don't know what teams actually want him right now. I think the Bucs could make sense if they cut somebody like a Jacquizz Rodgers there, but I think with DeMarco Murray, it's just not an ideal fit.
All right, so DeMarco Murray's at number 11, has been meeting with teams out there, so we'll see if he finds a destination. Be sure to hit us up with your predictions. Where will he sign? At this point, Tom, you've mentioned it. It's a depth chart problem.
I think he waits. I think he has to wait for injuries, and don't worry, there will be injuries, unfortunately.
All right, so DeMarco at number 11. Who are the top 10 free agents available in the NFL right now? We will get there, but first, a word from our friends at Man Crates.
Some gifts for men in real wooden crates, wrapped in a cocoon of duct tape, or housed in ammo cans that are virtually indestructible. Some gifts he'll get to assemble himself. Some gifts you'll beg him to share. And some gifts are sealed inside layers of rock-solid concrete. Gifts guys love, from grilling gear to old-school video games and more. Man Crates. Awesome gifts for men.
All right, Tom, so before we get into the top 10, let's summarize so far the available free agents and our rankings. The guys that just missed the list, some big ones there, huh?
Yeah, Fleener's got concussion issues. I think some of those guards, namely Boone and Luke, get signed at some point, but I don't think Incognito's getting touched because no one wants to bring him into an NFL locker room right now.
And it's so sad because he had such a good year last year. He's a good guard.
And then he just went crazy.
Oh, boy.
Poor guy.
All right, let's summarize the list up until number 10 here. Colin Kaepernick at number 25. Then it's Gates, Peterson, Gillette, and Mike Mitchell. Then 20 through 16 here, Adam Jones, Darkwa, TJ Ward, Julius Thomas, Eric Decker.
Some notable names in that last 10 that they might not get signed, but they're notable enough that we wanted to make note of them.
Okay. All right, so there you go. Top 25 NFL free agents left. We'll go to number 10 here on the list here. Oh, excuse me. Jari Evans, Tyvon Branch, Quentin Demps, Jeremy Maclin, DeMarco Murray. Disrespect for those 5 players. I apologize. But with that, let's go to the top 10. At number 10, Kayvon Webster, formerly of the LA Rams, had some experience in Denver as well.
Webster is an interesting player for me now. I think he'd be a really good fit to go back to the Rams, and I think that's kind of the ideal fit for him. And there was a report not too long ago that said once he's healthy off that Achilles injury, he could be a fit to do that. And I think that's the best case scenario for Webster. I've always liked him. I thought he was a very promising player with the Broncos, and with the Rams, I saw some of the upside as well. I think if you give him another chance to come back healthy, he can still be, if not an outright number 2 corner, he can be in your dime packages. So I think Webster's going to get a chance. I think I'm also higher on him than almost everybody else out there.
Yeah, I think you are. But hey, you know what? He's a quality player. Everybody needs a corner out there in the NFL. Yeah. Take a look at the cornerback depth chart for the Rams. It's pretty good.
It's really good. It's one of the best in the NFL. Peters, Talib, Coleman. I don't think you're going to find a better trio in the NFL right now. We'll see how Sam Shields fares. He's come back from his own injury problems, and that actually led him to retire at one point. But if he's healthy, maybe Webster doesn't make as much sense for the Rams.
All right, so Kayvon's there at number 10. At number 9, we go Robert Ayers. Had a couple of good years in the NFL here, Tom, formerly of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And every team out there needs a corner. Every team out there needs an edge rusher, too.
You went with the Colts. I went with Detroit. I'm not sold really on either of them in the end because I almost put down weight for injury for Ayers because he is another guy that he's put up some good numbers in the past, 5.5, 5, 9.5, 6.5 sacks with 3 different teams, and that's pretty good for an NFL player who's not an elite pass rusher. But if you can promise the team, hey, I can give you 5 sacks every year, they're going to sign you. The issue is last year, the concern was, hey, has he lost it now? Does he have it anymore? So I think he gets signed at some point. I think Detroit could use another edge rusher. I think the Colts could as well, especially a veteran one. But I think Ayers might wait for an injury as well because the market is not there for him in the way that, frankly, I kind of thought it was going to be. A lot of these guys in the top 10 I thought would be signed by now, and Ayers is one such player.
All right, so he's there at number 9 on the list. Let's check in with number 8 here. And we've got Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. Now, he's an interesting character here. Had this whole fallout with the Giants, Tom, that went on, and now he's a free agent.
The Giants asked him to move to safety, and he said, sure, I'll do that. And then they said, take a pay cut, too. And he's like, nah, man, I'm not doing both of those things.
I'm good with that, yeah.
I'm out. He said he wants to be an outside corner. I don't know if there's a team that needs one, but I think the Chiefs kind of do. I kind of thought KC could have pulled the trigger on Sam Beal in this year's supplemental draft, or even Adonis Alexander, because you look at their depth chart. David Amerson got cut by the Raiders. I love Kendall Fuller.
But he's a slot guy.
But he's a slot guy, which means you're starting Steven Nelson, Keith Reeser, or Tremont Smith, the rookie.
Yikes.
Go sign DRC and just play him, because even though he's not the same guy he was in his prime, he's better than those guys. So he's also said he's going to sign before camp. He said he was going to sign back in like April or May as well. So it kind of keeps getting pushed back. And all these teams have been linked to him. 2 of those teams just drafted cornerbacks today via the supplemental draft, which we'll come back to here again in a second for those of you just now watching. But I don't know where he's going to end up now, because I thought it was going to be the Redskins. So we'll wait and see.
I am waiting on DRC, in my opinion. I don't know if he's going to find a team anytime soon, but eventually injuries will happen, and teams could always use an additional corner there for depth. All right, so DRC's there at number 8. Let's go to number 7. We've got Kenny Vaccaro.
Kenny Vaccaro, Hive hype member right here.
Big story, and he could be going to Dallas, according to you.
I am actually kind of upset the Cowboys haven't signed Kenny Vaccaro yet, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The Cowboys tried to trade for Kenny Vaccaro last year. There was a semblance of a deal that didn't go through, but the general talking point and concept was Kenny Vaccaro for Orlando Scandrick. Cowboys Saints, of course, did not get that deal done. So clearly Vaccaro is a player the Cowboys like, right? Then the Cowboys this year say, oh, none of the safeties are free agency fits for us, which makes no sense because they're all different cornerbacks. Like, I don't think it just doesn't make enough sense. They're all different safeties, excuse me. So I think Vaccaro would be a good fit for the Cowboys, even as just a number 4 safety, to rotate in with Jeff Heath and Xavier Woods and Kevon Frazier. It's not an elite group of safeties by any means, but it's not that bad.
Not that bad at all.
It's better than what it would be. And do you want to put Jamil Showers or Marquise Enough on your roster? No. Now, if you go trade for Earl Thomas, okay, don't bring in Vaccaro. Go sign Vaccaro for a year, see how he fares, and then I think it just gives you more depth. So I think he should go to the Cowboys. I think it's a perfect fit for all parties involved. He can play some slot, can play some strong, some free safety. I am a big Kenny Vaccaro fan, Cam.
All right.
Even though you're not quite as on board as I am.
I am definitely on board with this guy here at number 6. Trey Boston. Love this guy. Had a great year with the LA Chargers. It's amazing to me that he is still available. And I actually like him in the New York Giants depth chart.
I'm intrigued by it. I don't hate that idea. That's one of the teams I've considered in the past. I think with the Giants in terms of their fit, I still think there are some players they want to try to give a chance at safety to. I've always liked Darian Thompson, the kid out of Boise State. They seem to like some players like Andrew Adams, even though I don't really. So if Thompson struggles, maybe the Chargers bring in Boston, but I'm really surprised he hasn't been signed yet, Cam.
I am too.
I would put him on the Chiefs because you pair him with Eric Berry, that's a really good safety tandem, as opposed to the bums they got out there right now to pair with Eric Berry and Eric Murray, Daniel Sorensen. I like Armani Watts long term, but he's not ready to go quite yet. Leon McQuay, Robert Golden, a bunch of players people think I might have made up. Like, if I'm Kansas City, you didn't get any defensive backs in the supplemental draft. You got to get at least one.
They've been really quiet, and it's weird.
It's a bad cornerback and defensive back group outside of Eric Berry. If Eric Berry gets hurt, it might be the worst one in the NFL. Straight up.
All right, so Trey Boston there at number 6 on our rankings. Before we get to the top 5, folks, we are going to summarize what we have so far in our available free agent rankings. The guys that just missed the list: Houston, Joeckel, Boone is there, Incognito, you guys know him, Coby Fleener as well. 25 through 21, Colin Kaepernick, Antonio Gates, Adrian Peterson, Junior Gillette, and Mike Mitchell.
Not sure any of those guys will get signed, at least not immediately.
All right, then we go to the next slate of 5 here. Adam Jones, Orleans Darkwa, TJ Ward, Julius Thomas, and Eric Decker. 15 through 11, Jari Evans, Tyvon Branch, Quentin Demps, Jeremy Maclin, DeMarco Murray. Then inside the top 10 we go: Kayvon Webster, Robert Ayers, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, Kenny Vaccaro, and Trey Boston.
Welcome into the defensive back grouping.
Exactly, that's the theme there. Let's go to number 5. Definitely not a defensive back. We have Johnathan Hankins. One of the interesting stories here, because he is still unsigned, but he is a viable option on that defensive front.
I'm really intrigued that you said go back to the Colts.
Just do it. You've got the salary cap space to do it, and why not bring him back?
This is kind of like the Dez Bryant debate because the team that needs Hankins the most might actually be the team that cut him.
Exactly.
So, but I went with the Browns, and I kind of think that one is going to go down. Remember, they traded away Danny Shelton, and they haven't really brought in anybody else to help fill that role. Now, the Jets and Falcons, Redskins, Lions were all linked to Hankins. Detroit drafted some defensive linemen. The Falcons drafted and signed a player in Dejan Sennett and Terrell McClain. The Jets also went in and they brought in some different players in the draft. So I don't think any of those teams make ideal sense. But the Browns, I like Larry Ojenubi, but beyond that, I don't love that group all that much. So I think there's some space there to go out and get somebody else in that area. Okay,
so there you go. Johnathan Hankins checks in at number 5 on the list. We will remind you to subscribe to the Chat Sports YouTube channel, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Hit that subscribe button. We're going for 100K, Tom.
Oh, 100K, because we're going for elite numbers.
We are.
No, maybe not Joe Flacco numbers, because those
would be in the millions.
100K subscribers here is the target, folks. We're gonna surpass 55K. For anything by the end of the show, we're 4 away, but that's not a milestone. 100K is, so subscribe. If you like the NFL, we'll have highlights and daily shows all throughout the season, plus all the offseason coverage you could want as well.
All right, so there you go. Johnathan Hankins checking in at number 5 on the list. Let's take a look at number 4 now. To the secondary we go. Bashaud Breeland, formerly of Washington.
And the Panthers, because I count Carolina because
like
he technically signed with them. So yes. I'm counting Carolina, and that's why that's the background photo. We agree, though, it's the Colts.
Bring him back.
We agree for the first time outside of unsigned.
Or bring him in. Yeah, I mean, they got the salary cap space. They got the need. I got the Colts here on a lot of names.
Because
they could sign the world if they wanted to. So the depth chart for Indianapolis at corner,
it's bad.
Made up names. Tom.
It's Quincy Wilson, Nate Hairston, and then Patriots cast off Kenny Moore could start. Chiefs cast off DJ White could start, and Browns cast off Pierre Desir, among other teams, could start. That's not, you don't want 3 cast-offs being a potential team to start for you. So I think they'll sign Breeland. The reason that contract was voided with the Panthers, a foot infection flagged the physical. Panthers said, heck no, we're not going to do that. Deal got voided. Once he's fully healthy, I think he'll get signed. Then hopefully it's with the Colts because they need somebody else on the outside badly.
All right, let's go to number 3 on the list. Eric Reid is still unsigned. And the Kaepernick logic here, Tom, of course, he is one of the first to kneel during the national anthem. Perhaps that's part of the equation.
You and I agree.
Yeah.
He's not getting signed.
Unsigned.
The minute he filed that collusion suit against the NFL, I'm like, oh, he's done.
Another unsigned.
Like, on one hand, the easiest way for the NFL to win the case is to have someone sign Eric Reid, which should happen because teams need safeties, and Eric Reid is at least a number 3 safety in the NFL no matter what. The flip side is for Reid, and if you sue your boss, you're probably not going to get signed.
It ain't a good look.
That's a good way to ensure you're never getting signed again. So from an on-the-field perspective, I would absolutely sign Eric Reid. I kind of thought the Bengals might, and then Mike Brown came over and kind of nipped that in the bud and is a big reason why Reid has that collusion lawsuit. But I think a team should sign him, but I think a team won't sign him in the end.
All right.
Talent-wise, he is at least a number 3 safety in the NFL, if not a number 2.
All right. We'll see what happens with that collusion case, by the way. Reid there at number 3. At number 2, we go NaVorro Bowman. Played for the 49ers and the Raiders last year. Was very productive for Oakland. Give me the Patriots on this, Tom. I like the Steelers, too, though.
We both picked 2 teams that need inside linebacker help.
Yep.
And I'm sure producer Harris has hyped up his first-year players already. I am okay with the Patriots. I won't rule out the Oakland Raiders either at this point, but I think the Steelers are the best fit for him. I think the Patriots aren't that far behind either. Some other teams listed up there as well. Look at the Steelers' linebacker depth chart. Vince Williams, John Bostic, Tyler Matakevich, L.J. Fort, and maybe you bring in Edmonds to play some safety / linebacker hybrid. Yeah, I would go sign Bowman. Like, I know he's older and he's not the same player he once was. He still put up good numbers, and look at the rest of the free agents out there. He's my number 2 guy easily. I think he makes a lot of sense. Patriots, meanwhile, Hightower, Van Noy, and Roberts.
Van Noy
I like Hightower. The rest of those guys, not so much.
Yep. All right, so we'll see if he goes to a contender. I think he will. I think that's a good fit.
Go back to the state of Pennsylvania and sign there with the Steelers. It makes too much sense for both sides if Pittsburgh is actually willing to do it.
NaVorro Bowman at number 2. Finally, the top available player in the NFL right now, Dez Bryant, formerly of the Dallas Cowboys, still waiting Still waiting, and you cheated,
I
Tom.
cheated. I did cheat. I picked two
Can't do
teams.
that.
I cheated. I picked two because we had space. I went with the Niners
Double
and
dipper.
the Saints. I think either of those teams are where Dez will end up. There's the NFC South and the Cowboys connection there. And I think both those teams fit what Dez Bryant wants more than anything. A chance to play against the Cowboys potentially. And B, a good quarterback that can help him get that one-year prove-it deal and then cash in. I see some commenters who say Dez is the Patriots, so they agree with you. I think that if in terms of need, the Bills make the most sense. I think the Giants make sense. But I think the Niners and the Saints have the best ideal fit for Dez Bryant. The Niners need somebody to be a red zone threat. The Saints can do that same role. And I think Dez would be great with Drew Brees or with Jimmy G if he is as good as everyone thinks he's going to be.
All right, so that's a look at the Saints and the 49ers.
Though, I'm okay with as well.
Okay, I got the Patriots. You got the Saints/49ers.
I cheated. I picked two teams.
You guys have been watching NFL Daily presented by Man Crates. For Tom Downey, I am Cam Rogers. We'll see you next time.